Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, joined by our very own presidents of both Texas and Florida, Matt and Rob, to do a very special broadcast for their Cover Report Live to talk about the community and giving back. And certainly a time like today, it's very important that we're focused on community and giving back. For more than a decade, that's what GlobalPro has done. It's been on the front lines, giving back in so many different ways, whether it's through monetary contributions, collecting goods and services that are necessary for the recovery of your communities. We are always doing our part, and we hope that you step up and do your part. With the ravaged states of North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, and many other parts of the country that are experiencing loss and disaster, it's always important that you see what you can do for your community, whether it's volunteering your time, collecting goods and services, or money. Believe me, there's something that you can do. There's something that you can do despite where you may live or reside in the country. It's really important that we help our communities right now because there are so many people that have lost so much. And some of these places were considered bastions of areas where disasters like this could never happen. And so their preparation was very different than, let's say, some of your coastal areas. So the recovery is going to take longer. There's certain areas where they were remote and difficult to get to and not as accessible as one may think in order to be able to get those goods and services there. So we want to make sure that all of you have what you need, and they're jumping back on here, Matt and Rob. But here comes Rob. They're going to be joining me here. So, hey, Rob, well, let me kick it off first off and talk about GlobalPro, founding the company more than a decade ago with the cornerstone about being community and the things that we have done, whether it's been from Superstorm Sandy and the many different things that we did on that with regards to that storm in the hard-hit areas of New York and New Jersey, Pennsylvania, as well as Hurricane Irma, where we rebuilt homes, or Hurricane Michael, where we're in the Panhandle, actually assisting a church which became the center of the community and all of the recovery needs. I'll flip it to Rob. Rob, talk about a time where you with GlobalPro did something for the community, and it's in a way of which giving our audience examples of things that we've done so that maybe they can see how they may be able to participate, whether near or far from these types of disasters.
Sure. Probably one of our best experiences since we launched in Texas back in 2021. I think it was the following year that we had the Balch Spring wildfires. You know, Texas is one of those states where there's always something going on. It freezes in the winter, you get hail in the spring, and then you get hurricanes sometimes in the summer and fall, and then somewhere around July and August it stops raining, and we occasionally have wildfires, which is what happened. It was interesting. This started with just a guy mowing an empty field, and the lawnmower struck a rock, sparked, the field caught fire, and then destroyed literally dozens and dozens of homes in the surrounding neighborhood. We went down there, partnered with a group called Sharing Life. They had started a food pantry. That was our first introduction to the Balch Springs area. So we worked in the food pantry for the first day, and then after that we kind of figured out that everybody that had been displaced by the fire was staying at a Hampton Inn, which was several miles from the food pantry. So I was like, why don't we just set the food pantry up at the Hampton Inn? And so we went over there, bought a bunch of additional supplies, took some things from the existing food pantry, and set up our own food pantry at the Hampton Inn, just because you know how it is, particularly if you have kids. You think you've got everything, and then you realize you're missing 4 or 5 things, and you're just trying to give these families as much normalcy as possible after a situation like this. So we set up a food pantry in the Hampton Inn, manned it for about 4 solid days, and also just set up a table to help people review policies, answer questions, just help them navigate what was a really, really tough situation.
Oh, awesome, man. And Matt, you're there right now on the front lines. After this major storm on the west coast of Florida, talk to us a little about what the situation is like and what we have planned for this coming week.
Yeah, it's still kind of in cleanup mode over here. It's only been about 4 or 5 days. First couple of days was very bad. It's very hard to get everywhere. The amount of flooding and the amount of sand that's everywhere. Right now, there's just debris that's being collected, and there's contractors everywhere. I keep having to move around and stuff. You guys can see there's just trucks and dump trucks and mitigation companies. I mean, they're all coming here. They're all here now, and everyone's kind of just ripping everything out and throwing everything away, unfortunately. So there's stuff everywhere, and the streets are full of debris and people now. The beaches here are starting to open up. I was in Clearwater yesterday, Dan's Island at San Key and up and down Indian Rocks, and same thing over there. It's still hard to get around. It's not easy. There's people everywhere trying to, help and clean up. And so that's probably going to be another probably a week or so. Most places are just opening today and tomorrow too. If you go down further south, like I'm going to head down to Bradenton in a little while. They just opened just this morning, so no one's been there to see what happened to their homes and their associations and their properties and their buildings yet. So it's going to be interesting to see that, because it's like the fourth or fifth time I've gone to a new area in the past 4 or 5 days that that people are just getting there. Unfortunately, and it's a week out. So slow. There's debris everywhere. It's still a mess, and it's going to be quite some time. On the flip side of that, this storm was so big and wide and damaged so much area that it's going to be like that for I think an extended period of time. Obviously, even just from FEMA standpoint, we've tried to report claims. We're on hold for 50 minutes, 60 minutes. Some of them are not even accepting them. We're going to have to go online and go through links and do things in hope that they're getting the information. I mean, it's we're still in that early phase, so that's going to probably be another week or so till things start to get moving and the recovery process starts to happen.
No, it's all good. And next week, Matt, we have quite a bit planned to help these damaged areas.
Yeah.
Talked a little about who's involved, what people should expect, and how they can get involved in the recovery efforts while you're there on the front lines.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so we were able to jump on and get everybody together. The BHA, the Brickell Homeowners Association, the BNA, the Biscayne Neighborhoods Association, the DNA, the Downtown Neighbors Alliance, our LBA family, Latin Builder Association family, KW is stepping in to help out, one of our great partners. We have MicroHub, another company that's helping us with logistics and gathering, compiling, and getting this stuff over to the collection sites. They've also offered their warehouse over in the Edgewater area on 2nd. It's at the corner of 2nd and 22nd, Northeast 2nd and 22nd. So we have a lot of folks that are coming to help with a lot of reach. And so we're getting the announcements out today, but the drive is going to be next week from Monday to Saturday. And you can either drop off at the GlobalPro office in Coconut Grove or at the MicroHub warehouse over in Edgewater. There's going to be other events throughout the week that we'll be putting out in social media and LinkedIn. The Latin Builder Association has a Wednesday member cocktail where there'll be dozens, if not hundreds of people, and they're doing a collection site there as well. So we have our core, our ecosystem moving. Oh, I'm sorry, BioResponse, one of our good partners also has jumped in. Manny Pose and I are on the charity committee at the LBA. So everyone's doing everything they can, whether we're here or there or not. Everyone's pitching in, all hands on deck. So it's really great to see that stuff. And right now, that's the mode that everybody's in. We got to help people, regardless of the situation where you are or how far away you are. You can do something. So we're gonna put that in action starting Monday, and look out for the details today on social media, LinkedIn, and everywhere. And please, if you can help out, please do so.
Yeah, we're going to make sure all of the information is available down below in the description, so the links are going to be there and available to you. We've partnered with all these amazing companies to make sure that this is accessible to everyone, whether you're in Texas, Florida, or wherever you are, East Coast to West Coast. It's really important that you get involved, because the major infrastructure in these areas which have been heavily hit don't have the access to materials and the distribution capabilities. So those that are outside of the immediate area, as to why we are focused in the South Florida area as far as our fundraising efforts, as well as other parts of the country, it's important that we do our part from afar to collect those things and then bring them into those areas, because logistically speaking, things are stressed and very difficult and complicated. I'm going to mute you there, Matt, because there's a lot of construction noise in the background. He's right there on the ground. So involved in all of the recovery efforts and helping our community. It's a time to step up. It's a time to be part of this recovery, as Rob talked about, and their efforts in Texas and going to a market in which, quite frankly, we were not all that familiar, but we saw a need, because again, it was a market in which, or an area, geographic area that was not experienced a whole lot of loss and damage. So they are hamstrung, their resources are stretched, and people need assistance. So the idea that Rob was able to go down there, sit down, answer questions about insurance, be a part of the process, donate to those that were in need. Again, it's a core value here at GlobalPro, has been from day one. It's a cornerstone of what we do, and we hope that all of you can help us help Rob, Matt, and our entire GlobalPro team make this successful with all of our partners, because we want to make sure that we're being part of the solution, the recovery efforts, and we hope that you will all join us. So I'm going to keep today's broadcast short. I'm so grateful for Rob and Matt for joining us, and be safe, Matt, on the front lines. And we hope that when the need comes, that all our community steps up, rallies around this idea of doing this, and gives back. And I'll leave you on that note, so make sure that you continue to tune in right here on the Recovery Report Live every Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We want to make sure we give you actionable information, and this is a very, very important aspect of this situation that is really kind of developing right now. They're only just now getting into areas in the Carolinas, and still people don't have access to roads that to get into where people are stranded. So there's helicopter rescues going on all the time. So be a part of the solution. This is a tough, dire situation in many parts of the country. So do what you can, help out, reach out to us, 855-487-7475, or go online at our website, globalpro.com. We'll have all the information about everything that we're doing there as well, in the Storm Center and the blogs. We're going to make sure that we continue to give you coverage of what we're doing, so that if you want to participate, you want to step up and give back, you know where to go and how to reach us. And again, I do want to say this one last part, and I forgot to mention it earlier. Be careful as to where you donate money and supplies and your time. Make sure that it's actually going to the front lines. I should have said this earlier in the broadcast, but I want to make sure I wrap up on this. Be careful. There is always this predator mentality that we do see. Unfortunately, there are bad actors that do take advantage of people in these times. When you're at your worst, unfortunately, whether it's contractors, whether it's through donations and charity, be mindful. Make sure you look into these things. If you have any questions whatsoever, where you're donating, what you're doing, reach out to us as well. We're always on the front lines. We've been there for over a decade, and we want to make sure that your money, your time, and your goods and services, whatever else, are going to those in need. So again, I'll wrap up on that note. Make sure you tune in every single week here, right here on the Recovery Report Live. Again, Matt, Rob, thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. Appreciate all your efforts, and we'll be in touch soon. Matt, you have one last thing to add?
Yeah, just real quick, because it's very, very important. I don't know if they're going to. They typically do, but the federal government has not extended the proof of loss requirement for flood claims. FEMA is out of money. If you guys haven't been following the news, they ran out of money back in March or April. So it's a difficult time for a lot of people. We can barely get anybody to talk to us on the FEMA side or NFIP. So if anything, I think be cognizant of that. We're 2 weeks into this, or a week into this thing. You only have 8 weeks. You have 8 weeks to get all your stuff together, get it submitted, and make sure that the correct valuation, the correct damage is described and given to FEMA, to the NFIP. So just want to leave with that, because that's going to be really, really important, especially in the next week.
Now, all great advice. Again, we want to give you actionable information you can use. Matt, I appreciate you sharing that with us. It is true. There's long hold times on phone calls. Emails are going unresponded to. We are having more and more and more policyholders come to us simply because they honestly cannot get people on the phone. And we are sitting and standing by, taking those calls, making sure that we get people in touch with people, logistically scheduling things. We've had a number of adjusters already cancel inspection appointments, and what happens is, as they get a volume of business in, they're sorting their claims around, and they're only going to what's closest to them. And then they're delaying and pushing off the other claims. So I always told people that just because you're the first to call and report the claim does not necessarily mean that they're going to actually come to you first. Most often, even when they do give you a scheduled date to actually inspect within the first couple of weeks, it does get rescheduled to a later time because they're waiting for a volume of business to come in. And there's less adjusters today, and there's a much, relative to how widespread this is. So resources are spread thin on the insurance side of it. So again, very important information. Thank you, Matt, for sharing that. But again, guys, I'll wrap up. Check us out. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like us, and follow us on social media, and go on to the website at globalpro.com. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Please stay safe out there and let us know how we can help you. Thank you guys for joining us this week on the Recovery Report Live.